You don't have enough space, not a problem. I want to show you how I turn this little space in my farm into a 4-ton BSF facility every month. Like, I literally produce over 4 tons of larvae from this little space that I've got every single month. Now you're going to see how I did it and replicate the result that I've got here. So let's get right into this video and see what we're doing here in Mack Diasa Farms. Hi, this is Mack Diasa from Mack Diasa Farms. Now, we are specialized in the production of the BSF larvae and the pre-pupa, the pupa, the BSF eggs, and other byproducts from the BSF, like the BSF frass. And not only that, we also train people who are interested in starting their own farm, get adequate knowledge and information, not just information that are in beta and piece that might be confusing or even wrong to start with. So if you're in need of any of those, you can hit us up. We'll be glad to help you out. And if you've not gotten our book, the Black Soldier Fly 101, you could get a copy. It's a digital copy, very easy for you to get. It will also broaden your knowledge on the BSF farming. We want to talk about the engine room of any BSF operation, which is the insectarium. Some persons will call it love net. Now, the insectarium is where our insects will mate, produce enough eggs for us to feed, grow to become bigger larvae. Now, this is the engine room, and you have to take it seriously. Without this engine room, there'll be no eggs to produce. Some persons, they have a big larvarium and then they have a tiny insectarium and they hope to produce a lot of larvae. It can't work. So you have to have a big insectarium to match the larvarium that you have in order for you to be able to produce a lot of quantity. So right now, we have in Mack Diasa Farms, we have a 20 by 10 feet insectarium, which enable us to produce a fair amount of eggs. We intend to expand in the coming weeks to have more of the eggs to support our farm and then to support our clients that might need some eggs from us. So let's go into the farm, collect our pupas, and send into the insectarium and see how our insectarium looks. The first step to produce a lot of larvae in your farm is to have a lot of pupas. Now, if you've been following my channel, you should already know the difference between the pre-pupa and then the pupa. The pre-pupas are actually the ones that are already dark in complexion, but they're still active, moving about. While the pupas are the ones that are no longer active and yet they're dark in complexion. So the ones that we send to the insectarium or the love net is actually the pupa. So I'm going to sieve 1 through 3 our larvarium that we're going to send into the insectarium. Recall, I've said it in my previous video that from every of your harvest, you must retain up to 10 or 20% of what you collected that you will plow back into your insectarium or your love net in order for you to collect eggs and keep the cycle going. And one most important point you should take note of, I usually allow the ones I want to send into the insectarium to stay inside of the substrate, the dry substrate, like the frass. That way they can have some shade and covering and they pupate a lot faster. So let's harvest and send into our insectarium. So to do that, it's very simple. I have this my sieve. I just put it there. It won't take me a minute to have this sieved. Now I'm done. I go to the next one. I take another and then I sieve again. As a BSF farmer, nothing is wasted. Just like the palm fruits, nothing is wasted there. Here, even the empty castings for the pupas, they are important. They can be used as organic fertilizer when grinded to smooth powder. The dead flies are also important. You can feed them to your animals, or you can also grind them for several uses. I mean, there's so much you can do with the black soldier fly larvae. So we are inside of the insectarium, which I told you is the NG room of this operation. So we have up to 20 kg of pupa, pure pupas. Because what you're supposed to bring inside the insectarium should be pupas. If you have larvae or pre-pupa, they are going to crawl all over the place. So I do not want a situation for my farm where I will run out of flies. Now, before these flies will die off, I will replace, I will restock the insectarium with more pupas. Now, I have up to 20 kg of pupas. Each of these 5 plastic bowls weighing up to 5 kg. Some were 4 kg, some were a bit lower than that. The total is actually 20 kg, close to 20 kg. So I'm going to spread it all around in such a way that they can easily emerge. Now, one of the mistakes some farmers will make is to maybe understock the insectarium or overstock. Now, understocking your insectarium would mean that you for a big insectarium you put very small amounts of pupas. Okay, now when it comes to overstocking, it's a situation whereby you put too much pupas in your insectarium, and when you do that, they will not have enough space to perch. Like if you see this thing hanging down, in fact I will even come back later and put more so that they can have enough space to perch. Now, if there are not enough space to perch, they will perch all over the eggs, and then the female flies might find it difficult to find a spot to perch and lay their eggs on the designated spot. That's something you must keep in mind. So usually what I'll do, I'll just spread them on the floor. I will not make the heap to be too much so that they can easily emerge. If the heap is too much, before they will manage to come out, they must have become very weak. I mean, you don't want that to happen to your pupas. So I'll just spread them all around. I want to ensure that there is enough space for these pupas, these flies to perch. So I don't want to come too towards the side too much. So now that I have them here, I'll just spread them. I don't want too much heap. Too much heap, they'll find it difficult to come out. Yeah. So this is the NG room. With this, we'll be able to collect a good amount of egg. And once I'm able to get more of the pre-pupas to become pupas, I'll also introduce them here. And like I said in the beginning of this video, we're also planning to build a new insectarium right over there so that we can accommodate more of these pupas so as to avoid overstocking. Other things that you must keep in mind for this NG room is you must have a device that measures the temperature. You don't want here to be too hot, you don't want the humidity to be too low. You have to ensure that everything is just about perfect. Well, in this my pupas, not all of them have become pupas, right? A good number of them have become pupas, up to 80%. The reason why I decided to bring them here is because I noticed that some of them was already emerging as flies, and I don't want too many flies in my larvarium, so I just bring them here. Some of them are still moving, well, but just few of them are moving, but the majority of them, they become pupas, and that's why I brought them here. Now the flies, they are in good condition, they are okay, they are mating, and then they are laying their eggs. If you look closely here, you see this one is laying eggs. They're just trying to find a good spot to lay their eggs. Another thing that you can also do to improve the NG room of your operation, which is the insectarium, is to have maybe artificial lighting. You can put in artificial lighting up to 100-watt bulb or 100-watt fluorescent light. You can have several ones in the space. Now if you're in Africa where light or power is an issue, you can go get the solar fluorescent light, so that here can be bright in the night. Mating activities can keep going on even at night. Thereby, there will be more output for the eggs. Now, if you want to learn more of this, you can sign up for my course where we talk more in details on what you can do to improve the output of the engine room, which is the insectarium. Now, the flies are all over me, so it's difficult for me to really communicate properly. Not like they carry any kind of disease. They don't carry any kind of disease, but sometimes they're a bit itchy, right? Like you feel some kind of itch around you, something from the mind though. It's not really from the insect per se. So BSF, they are the safest insect you can find on the planet. One of the safest insects you can find, because this insect at this stage they don't eat, they only absorb water. So from time to time we spray water in here multiple times a day, depending on the humidity meter we have there. And then I've not brought in the cotton wool that is drenched in water, which can also help them stay a bit longer. These things, they're important because it will help the insects to stay longer and produce more eggs. So now that we're done with the engine room observation, so we'll go out there and talk about our wooden crate that we have made that helps us to scale up our production to greater height within our small facilities. So let's go in there. So before we talk about the detachable wooden crate that we have here in our farm, let me quickly talk to you about the little rig that I've done on how to hatch our eggs. Now, once we collect our eggs from the insectarium, from the eggs in the insectarium, we put our substrate here that we need to use in hatching the eggs. We put these wooden net here, and then it is stuck inside. That way the eggs can easily come out, feed on the substrate for a couple of days before we introduce them to the grower pond. So this is the process we take to achieve the result that we achieve. Now here is just 20 grams. Now let's assume we harvest 300 grams of eggs. We can now share that 300 grams of eggs into 20 grams each into several bowls and their hatching nets, and then wait for a couple of days and then feed them into our wooden crate. For this wooden crate, it's about 2 feet wide and 3 feet long, and then from top to bottom it is completely detachable. Now some of us may argue that they may crawl out, right? But we have an ingenious way to ensure that they don't crawl out. And if you want me to tell you how to ensure they don't crawl out, you can leave a comment and I would respond to you personally. Now, and then some other persons may say the thing is too is not tall enough to hold them. And I like to tell you that the BSF larvae, they need only 2 or 3 inches of depth to feed. Anything deeper than that, it will result in suffocation, and then they may not do well, they may not thrive well. So that's why we did this. Now, how do I feed the larvae here? For example, I can put in about 10 kg of waste. The waste that we have, we can use a mixture of several waste with some ingredients to ensure that they get as much nutrient as they should get. Now we'll put about 10 kg of waste here, right? We'll spread it all around. Then we can introduce up to 200 grams of neonates into each one of these crates. Now, it is expected that for the first 3 days, they're going to take a little time to finish that first 10 kg. But after the 3 days is over, you're going to maybe introduce like 15 kg on top of this substrate. Some other persons will tell you you would need to harvest them first before you feed them. But in my own farm, I don't do that because we don't yet have an automated system where we have maybe a machine that picks up the crate, does the harvest and everything. So we're still operating on a manual scale, and so for that reason we don't feed them. But there's something that you need to do to ensure that the level of ammonia in the substrate is not too much, right? You need to aerate the pond every now and then, maybe twice a day or once a day as the case may be, so that the gases that are trapped in as a result of no oxygen down there can go out. I mean, there's so much to talk about when it comes to BSF larvae, and that's why it's important for you to be properly trained before you dive into BSF farming. Except you just want to do it for the fun of it, you don't really intend to make any money out of it, then you can maybe just after a YouTube video you just jump into doing the BSF farming. But if you really want to make something out of it, like feeding your livestock or making money by selling the BSF larvae, you should get proper education. There are a ton of good teachers out there that you could learn from. You could also learn from us. We'll be glad to show you how to get started. Now I'm going to show you how I detach these crates, wooden crates. They're a bit heavy, but they are very durable and they will last for a long time. Now if you look closely, you see that there is a nylon bag that we use in spreading over the wood, so that it does not so that we don't put substrate directly on the wood. That will mean that the wood will spoil in no time. So this is a bit heavy. I don't know if I can lift it. So this is how I detach it, and then I can detach it to the last one. But this particular one, there's a substrate on it, and then we have a couple of larvae feeding in here, so detaching it will be a bit of a hustle, but I can assure you I can detach it up to the last. You could try to use the plyboard, but it's a bit more expensive. Now for me, each of these wooden crate cost me little above 5,000 naira. Now depending on the area you live in, any part of the world, I don't know how much they sell the wood. That's what's going to determine the final price. Now if you are to use a plastic crate, for example in Nigeria, a plastic crate costs a little above 8,000 naira as of today, maybe more, a little more than that, and then it's just about half of this my wooden crate, and you can get only little out of it. So another thing that is also very important is the waste. Now once you are hoping to produce a lot of larvae, your waste has to be ready. You don't get your larvae then start running around for waste. They will not wait. Now this drum, I normally ferment one of the feed I use in feeding my larvae, fully fermented. I just put in here, ferment it, cover it in an airtight container, and then I let it be. Now for you to, like I've said this before, what you give your larvae is what they give you. Now since what you hope to get out of them is protein, you want to get up to 40 or 50% of protein from them, or 40-70% of protein from them. What you need to do is to feed them with a substrate that contains some level of protein. For example, the berry waste contains protein, right? The PKC also contains protein to some extent, and some other substrate that we normally use to get the best results. If you don't feed your larvae well, they will not grow well. I also have another feed in my storage unit behind. I bought up like a truck of it. I stored it behind, and I had all of that to feed my larvae. So I don't have any braking transmission because I'm fully set to feed them. This is part of how we arrive at the production of up to 4 tons in a month. Now, so how do we get 4 tons in a month? So here I collect eggs every now and then. Sometimes I even buy eggs from my colleagues to ensure that I always have eggs incubating, and then within the first week of me introducing this neonate into the biopond, I already have another batch that are growing, which will take about 7 days. So I always have, as I'm harvesting these ones, I'm reintroducing the next one, which enables me to have a production of up to 1 ton every week. Now if each of these ponds could give me 6.5 kg, sometimes 5 kg, but average 6.5 kg per pen if properly fed, and I have about 110, that could give me up to 660 or 700 kg. And if this 30 pounds that I have here can give me 10 kg each, I can get up to 1 ton of larvae in 1 week. Now once these guys are feeding, I already have eggs that are incubating and hatching. Now once these ones have been harvested and sold or processed to be transported to our customers, I already have the ones that I will introduce as neonate into this pond. Now once these ones are going and I'm introducing new neonate, I've already collected eggs, or I've bought eggs to keep the cycle going. That's how I maximize the space that I have to produce enough larvae to cater for livestock and then to sell to my customers that need the BSF larvae. I think you should give it a try. It will convince you that this is absolutely possible. This is what we're doing here in Mack Diasa farm, and it is possible for you to replicate what I've just said. Now, if you have any questions, please ask the questions in the comment section. I'll be glad to respond to them as soon as I see them. And if you've not gotten my book, Black Soldier Fly Farming 101, hit me up on the phone number on the screen, or go to the description and go straight to my seller account and just get a copy for yourself. It's a digital copy, and then you're going to learn a thing or two from this book. Thank you very much. If you've not subscribed, please do subscribe. And for my subscribers that keep watching the videos that I make, thank you. I appreciate you. If you've not liked this video, like this video. If you've not shared to your friends and loved ones, share this video. They might learn a thing or two from this video.